Just down the coast, another surprise and more complaints. We meet a family still living in a tent. This is an area controlled by Sri Lanka's political opposition. So guess what?
From the day the tsunami struck, they've been saying that the government will be giving them houses. Yeah. But so far, nothing's been done about it.
They don't want to leave. They're afraid they'll never get their land back.
Oh man, look at this. Wow.
Next door, the remains of what once was a substantial home.
Look at that sunglasses case, CD cases. Look at the pillows and everything. Oh my gosh. It's like everything was lifted up in the wave and just deposited here on the top floor when the waves subsided.
I'm one of the directors at Impact Aid.
Now we're back in the capital city, Colombo. A determined Canadian is working on the phone, butting heads with Sri Lankan bureaucracy. Pam Perodo and her husband Jerry are originally from Calgary and were living in Sri Lanka when the tsunami hit. Right away, they put their real estate and health spa businesses on hold and turned the office into a private aid agency called Impact Aid. Pam doesn't have much patience with the big NGOs.
But I think there's so much bureaucracy and so much paperwork and so much of all of that kind of stuff that they just can't do the job they're supposed to do anymore.
Impact Aid gives work to Sri Lankan widows, making jewelry and candles. Pam is afraid that most people think the crisis is over, and she's really worried about the future.
We don't have enough money to do more, and that a lot of these people are going to suffer. I'll give you the paperwork. Read it. It's sick. My husband died in the tsunami. I've got 4 kids. I'm 26 years old. And without making beaded jewelry, I wouldn't have food. We can only help so little. And then you see these people with all this money and they buy 4-wheel drives. You don't need a 4-wheel drive here. You drove down Gall Road. You can bicycle down Gall Road. You don't need a 4-wheel drive. That's what makes me mad.
Oxfam's head office is just down the road from Impact Aid. We want to ask them about some of the things that we've seen and heard in the past few days. The head of Oxfam here in Sri Lanka is another Canadian, Joan Summers. When we tell her about the temporary shelters we've seen, she says that it's important that we keep things in perspective.
When you think about the reconstruction that was necessary for this situation to happen, it is probably 100 times what would be the normal restocking or normal construction that would happen in the country. The capacity for that kind of construction to happen, the kind of planning that would need to take. It's like rebuilding a small city. It's like rebuilding a city for 500,000 people in Canada. How long would that take in Canada?
As for things like unfinished houses and fishing boats going to farmers, Joan says, well, when huge sums of money suddenly pour into a third world country, that's to be expected.
In any large-scale emergency, inevitably there's going to be some small amount of corruption, dissatisfaction, whatever. I'm quite sure that that's not the case in the Oxfam circumstances, and that the resources that were spent were well spent.
Okay, but before we came on this trip, I had no idea what to expect. When we got in the car, we started driving down the coast. And I think there has been stuff done. There were changes. I couldn't even imagine what it was like, you know, in the weeks after the wave. But the further we drove, what sank into this thought sank into my gut that, you know what, like, with all the money that's sent, it doesn't seem like there's much done. It just doesn't seem like there was a whole lot of rebuilding. I think the initial phases, everyone got in here, cleaned up the dead bodies, cleaned up the mess. But these people have been displaced, and they're still displaced a year later, and that to me was, you know, what broke my heart.
It makes me feel annoyed that this is happening, just because it's the first time that we've actually witnessed it. You know, you go home, you give $10 and you just assume it's going to good use, but then when you actually kind of seeing this process, it's really, I don't know, it just makes you feel like not wanting to give. Yeah. And that's probably the worst thing that could come out of this.
But people still have to give. Like, if it stops, that's not going to fix this problem. These people can survive on a wage of 10,000 rupees a month, which is $100, approximately $100 US a month. When you know that that's all it takes in terms of, you know, the financial side of things, and you realize how much you sent, and it doesn't add up, you know, it's not fair.